Hey everyone, this is Clarence with Spencer's Camera again. This is the next video in our Rho Ophiuchus and Blue Horsehead Nebula editing series. These are meant to be very brief, short, one step at a time kind of videos so that you're not stuck skipping through an hour-long video. You can just watch or save each video individually and refer back to them more easily. Most of our clients that we have surveyed have recommended that we do it this way. So for this series, we will do them in little short snippets. This one will focus on the next step after we have now removed the stars from our image. We now have a star image and a starless image. What are the next things that we should do? Well, my preference is I want to be able to see this image a little better and bring it up, the exposure up, so that we can see the detail better and then be able to correct or solve any potential image problems. So the next step I would recommend is we will use what's called the histogram transformation function. So histogram transformation is found under processes, all processes, and it will pull up kind of like a curves window. What we want to do here is click this little check mark. That will apply the data from this file, from this image. If you'll notice, if you move any of these tools, nothing happens to the image. If you move this slider and you're stretching or moving the data, nothing happens here in this representation of the image. You have to click in PixInsight on this little circle, which will then give you a real-time preview. So then, whatever you do, it will reflect that change in that real-time preview. This keeps things very non-destructive, so you are not destructing or hurting anything permanently in the image until you're ready to do so. Now, applying this stretch or exposure adjustment, a stretch is how it's sometimes referred to, an exposure adjustment. So we're going to change the exposure here by grabbing this middle little icon, little button, and moving this to the left. I usually come over to this segment. There's a little slightly hidden or ghosted line there. I bring it over about that far, and I may bring the darks down just a little to increase the contrast. I do these in short baby steps. You can do it all at once if you'd like, but I found it's easier to refine it a little better and be more accurate if you do these in short little baby steps. So once I've made this first initial adjustment here, you can see it's bringing up the exposure nicely. Then I will click the square. That will apply it to the image in the background, and now it's permanently attached or destructively attached. We can always back out in history of the file, but it's now been applied to it. Now you can reset this, and this is what you have. That's the first stretch, and then you can come up again with this one to your liking. I usually stop in this area again. I like the blacks, but I may bring them down just a little bit, bring up the contrast, and then I will hit the square again to apply it to the image in the background. Then I reset. So this is now the next step in the stretch. We're getting very close to what I want to see. I don't want to overblow anything here and blow it out, but I'm bringing up all this faint galactic dust in the background, but I'm keeping the blacks pretty dark. So I'll bring this up a little more, and you can see the data line here is leveling out, and then it kind of dies. That's where our information starts to end. It's right in this area, so I don't want to overstretch it. Something in this range, and the blacks look pretty dark. I'm just going to look a little, but I think right there looks pretty good. So you can see that's the before and that's the after of the third time of stretching this image. I'll then click on the square to apply it. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to close out of the real-time preview, and I can close out of the histogram transformation window. Now if we zoom in here, I want to kill some of this noise. There's a little bit of color noise. There's a process in PixInsight, very powerful. It's called TGV DeNoise. It's under process, all processes, TGV DeNoise. These, I believe, are the default settings. They work very well for me. I'll just click on the X to apply it to this image, and we'll give it a moment to think, and we'll be right back. Okay, the TGV DeNoise process has been completed. Just going to close that window out. I want to zoom in and show you that's after and this is before. So you can see there's a lot of speckling and color noise, and it really smooths that out nice and silky smooth. If you want it to be less smooth or more smooth, you can adjust the settings in that window and experiment to your liking, of course. I'm liking this image so far. I think I want to maybe adjust the curves a little bit. So that would be the next step. That's process, all processes, under curves transformation. We will click the check mark to show the data, and then click the little blue or the little circle for the real-time preview so we can see the adjustments that we're making. I'll usually just start experimenting with how I want it. I think the darks are good, but I may bring those up a little bit and then probably see what this does with the highlights. I don't want to push them too far. And then the shadows a little bit. So not much of an adjustment. Subtle, but I like that a little better. I'll click the square to apply it. There it's applied. And then we can close out of the real-time preview and the curves transformation. So I really like this image so far. The only thing is there's a very strong gradient. So you can see it's brighter through here. The darks of the sky are brighter and super dark here. In order to correct that, PixInsight has a very powerful tool called the Gradient Correction tool. It's under Process, All Processes, Gradient Correction. Within this, the scale, I usually click off the structure protection, and then I'll go with the scale adjustments here. Usually 2.5, 1.5, 2.5, 3, somewhere in the 1.5 to 3.5 works best for most subjects. Again, you can experiment with these to see how the result is. If you don't like it, adjust, try it again. But this one, I think about 2.5 should work very nicely. I'll click the X and we'll see how this turns out. We'll give it just a moment here. It looks like it's quick. There we go. So it's very flat now. The darks aren't too contrasty. Looks really good, in my opinion. But I want to increase the contrast a little bit here. So again, you can do curves transformation, bring up the real-time preview, and just do a subtle little S curve. I think would do it some good. Probably push up these mid-tones a little bit here, like that. Bring down these shadows a little more. Probably like that. I think that's before, that's after. I like that better. I'll apply it, close out of the real-time preview. I really like that image now a lot better. The gradient is mostly gone. It's not perfect, but it's very nice, nice and smooth. All of this great galactic dust is showing the detail, the dark nebula and the brighter nebula is really showing through, and the colors looking nice. So at this point, we will take the images, export them as TIFFs, the starless image and the star image, and move them into Photoshop. Oh, but first, before I forgot, the star image, I have found it works a lot better if you adjust for saturation in PixInsight. So under Process, All Processes, Color Saturation is the one we want. This is a powerful little tool. You can click on the real-time preview, and then there's a horizontal line going through the middle of this window. I grab the end of it and bring it up, usually about to that upper line above it, that quarter line, something in that range. And I can see that just by clicking the preview, the saturation is coming up nicely. It's not too much. I'll apply that by clicking the X. That'll apply it to the background image. Close out of these, and now you can see the saturation has been brought up pretty nice. So I'm going to leave that the way it is, and then we will export these as TIFF files. So PixInsight is a little weird on how you do this. You can click Save As, and then we're going to, I'm just going to put them right here in the root folder. The star image, it says stars. I'm going to save it as a TIFF. Click Save. Click OK. You have to make sure it's the 16-bit integer is selected, or it will not be recognized in Photoshop. You can do 8 or 16 bits, but 32 and 64 bits will not be recognized by Photoshop. I'm going to click OK. That will export the file. This one, the same thing. File, Save As. Go to the root folder here, and it's a TIFF. Click Save. Click OK, and then again 16-bit. It will save that file as a TIFF. Next video, we'll move into Photoshop. Thanks for watching, and as usual, any tips, recommendations, anything you would like us to produce as a video or a tutorial, send us a suggestion. We'd love to hear it, and we'll do our best to produce it for you. Thanks for watching.